There we go. Okay. Let me do this right. Microphone. Here. More or less. Hi, everyone. Let's change that. Oh, my goodness. This is good stuff. This is the content you're here for. Or is this the content you're here for? Holy smokes. This felt a lot bigger. And then I do the face test. I'm trying to subtly measure it against the width of my enormous watermelon head. And this seems pretty standard. Although it looks a lot thinner on the skinny side. It's the spine side. That's where it gets bad. Anyway, hi. These are my weekly books, as always. Pretty sure this is my biggest week. I've said that probably like 3 or 4 times in the past 2 months. It's getting worse, right? Like I'm definitely getting more books than I should be. Although with the slight caveat that I'm an variance. Oh yeah. I forgot. I need to plug my computer in because it says my connection's unstable. And that's not surprising. I'm going to keep the stream going though. Be right back. Ethernet cord. There we go. Hi. Okay. Hopefully that's better. Hi, kitty. Okay. We have a large show, or I do. This isn't your show at all. You guys are free to leave. Free to do anything else more fun with your time. These are my weekly books. I have 2 trades that I will get to at some point. And I think I want to start with this. I got a graphic novel. Today that I've been waiting for a while. I think I'm going to start with that. Because honestly, I'm really excited. I've been excited for this for a while. I should have got this a long time ago. It's going to replace something that's already on my shelf. For something that I love so much. I need to be much more careful with this knife and not cut myself or the book, more importantly. For something that I love, I like to have that book in the nicest format possible. And the book that I am replacing right now was one of the first comics I got. And they need to be replaced. This is a omnibus collection of several trades that I have on this shelf behind me right now. I ordered this from cheapgraphicnovels.com. This is not a paid plug by any means, although if they want to hook me up with some discounts or however the hell that works, I would not complain. I open the box, and this is what I find. This is a very dense box full of packing material. So that's good. I appreciate that, especially considering... Oh my God, don't do that next to the mic. Especially considering the book in here is a little pricey, although it's significantly less pricey if you order it through this website like I did. Maybe throwing a bunch of paper on the floor will make my cats calm down. That's not how cats work. Oh man, okay, I see it. I'm excited. Here you go, kitties. Enjoy. I'll clean it up when I go off the camera. You have it in the box. I don't know how that makes sense. I really should have had this book a long time ago, and this is one of 3, by the way. There's also 2 more of these that I don't have. One of them is not in stock, and the third one I just have not ordered yet because they're kind of expensive, and I don't want to just drop all that money all at once. Receipt. Boring. Ooh. Oh, I'm excited. I got the Green Lantern by Jeff Johns Omnibus. This is volume 2. This one has all of the Blackest Night stuff in here. Collects Green Lantern 26 through 52, Final Crisis, Rage of the Red Lanterns, and Blackest Night 0 through 8. Okay. So this will replace... oh my god, that's heavy. This will replace a significant chunk of... Actually, not a significant chunk. Maybe these 2 hardcovers that I have here. Once I get the other 2 omnibus, I will be able to replace all of these little baby Green Lantern trades that you can't even see. Green Lantern is not even visually represented on my shelf, which is kind of disappointing because Green Lantern is my jam. Absolute Green Lantern Rebirth is right here, though. Oh, this one. There we go. Oh my god, I can't point in reverse. This big one right there. Although I don't really love that comic. It's the start of Jeff Johns' entire run on Green Lantern, so it's important. I just much prefer the end of his run to the start. What issues are in these? Number 26. Okay, so yeah. These I will be passing on to Half Price Books or some other establishment. I'm excited. Okay. There's that. That's done. This will be right here on the shelf. Oh my god, it's going to look so good. This will be here on the shelf the next time you see me go live. And I have the volume 1 of this is on the way. Cheap Graphic Novels is waiting on a restock. So that'll be coming hopefully soon. Hopefully next month. I'll probably have volume 3 by the time I get volume 1. Anyway, that was that. That was my unboxing. Oh my god, this is like almost as heavy as that omnibus was. It's at least as big is what it feels like. All right, so like I do every week, I'm going to give it a very light shuffle with this pile and give you my thoughts on everything in my pull list. I was not able to read a whole lot of these books. Like I said, it's been a very busy couple of days for me here. It is Mystery Mail Call week, so I've been working extra at the warehouse because we are assembling those, and they're getting picked up by the mail people on Saturday. So it's crunch time. Okay, where can I need a bigger space or something. I need something. I need a nap. That's what I'm thinking. Hello, Andrew. I'm going to move this microphone just a little bit. Move this stuff. Okay, so I have 2 piles. I'm going to start with this one. First book. Okay, this is one of the Batman variants. What is this for? Batman the Night number 3. This is the Batman variant by Albuquerque. Yeah, Raphael Albuquerque. I love the colors in here. I love how they nailed the red and black color scheme that the movie went with, which I loved, by the way. I have seen it twice. I would like to go a third time, but honestly, maybe seeing the Batman 2 times in theaters is why I feel so behind in every other aspect of my life, because that's 6 hours of my life that are now gone. It's a long movie, but I highly, highly recommend it. I don't have to tell you that, and it's been out for like 2 weeks now. You've probably seen it by now. Next one. Fantastic Four. All right, I keep telling myself I'm going to sit down and actually catch up on this run, but I have not read Fantastic Four since like issue 13 or 15 or a long time. It's been a couple of years at this rate. I'm still getting it. I just don't have time. I don't have time to catch up, and I've gone too far at this point. But I also can't cancel it because I have a horrible brain. All right, let's take this stack. What's in this pile? Ooh, okay. I'm going to open this one. Or at least going to open the bag because the glare is gnarly on here. But this is Detective Con. Nope, this is Nightwing 90. This is another one of the Batman variants by Federici. Yeah, Riccardo Federici did this one. I love it. This is my early favorite, probably. I don't know if there's going to be another one that comes out for this movie series of variant covers that they're doing. I don't know if there's going to be another one that I like more than this. This is good. I love his art. I actually kind of fell down a little bit of a Riccardo Federici rabbit hole last night when I should have been reading. I was on Instagram just kind of scrolling through his artwork and watching him paint. The man can paint. And if you check my story on Instagram, I shared one of his posts of him painting a Batman and the Joker. My cats are playing in the big pile of crumpled up paper, which you can probably hear. So that worked. At least they're distracted. I'm not trying to get all up in my business. Okay, this one I can see what it is because it's got stuff on the back. This is The Last Book You Will Ever Read, number 6. This cover is naughty, so I'm not going to show you guys, but yeah, it's naughty. So far, I have not read any of these books that I have pulled. It's making the show go a little bit faster, at least. So I'm going to get to reading some of them by the time we're done, unless this thing goes for 4 hours. Ooh, okay, something I have read. Eternals, the Heretic, number 1. Goodness. I've been waiting to say this. Obviously, waiting until I pulled out the Eternals, but I recently got caught up on this series. I read issues 8, 9, and 10, and then this, when this came out. Holy moly. I have been vocal for the past year, maybe a little longer, however long Eternals has been out. I've been very vocal on my channel and also on Comic Talk Live, my comic show that I participate in every Friday. Basically, I've been vocal in several different avenues about how disappointing the Eternals was by Kieran Gillen. I have completely changed my mind. The second arc of Eternals, this current storyline they're doing right now with Thanos, has now seized control of the Eternals and is ruling with an iron fist, and it's very intense. And I can't think of another book that has taken such a positive turn, which I love. It might be also because I saw the movie and I feel a little more familiar with these characters and this world. But this current Eternals run, I would at least, if you're hesitant, if you didn't like the Eternals comic, I would say give the second story arc a try, because for me, that's when it really activated for me. This issue in particular is a tie-in. I almost said spin-off. It's not really either. It's a one-shot where Thanos goes and talks to this guy, Uranos. I don't know. They all have kind of goofy names. Who is his grandpa or like his great uncle or something? He's an elder Thanos family tree person. Oh my God, I explained that so poorly. He is in his family tree. Whatever. He's a relative of Thanos, and they just have a really scary back and forth. It has like kind of Hannibal Lecter vibes, where you have somebody who is very powerful and scary behind bars, kind of talking with somebody on the outside. Except that person on the outside is Thanos, so it's like scary and scarier. It's a cool book. I'm very pleased that the Eternals turned into something good, and I guess I will use that to justify me never canceling a book, because if I had canceled the Eternals earlier on in the run when I had felt like it, I would not have gotten to experience this pleasant switch for me. I really like the Eternals. I didn't think I'd be saying that based on the earlier part of this run. What kind of bags do you use? I desperately need to restock. I got a bunch of My Lights, like a bunch. What website am I using? My goodness, I'm totally blanking. They do free shipping if you spend over $100. So I just bought $100 worth of bags and got free shipping. And this was before the supply chain crisis really kind of shot all of this in the foot. So I have a big stockpile of bags, and I also use our shop provides bags and boards as well. So I'm pretty set when it comes to bags and boards. I wish I could be a little more helpful. I'm completely blanking on the website I used for my own bags. I used the coupon code from Comics with Bueller because he hooks it up. It'd be nice if I could remember the website, though. They're very local, which is nice. They're in southern Washington state. I wish I remembered their name instead of their physical location, which is pretty much useless because I order online. It'll come to me in like an hour or maybe 10 minutes after I turn the camera off, because that's how this works. Next book, Carnage #1. Okay. I was not expecting to like this book because it's Carnage. And Venom's cool, right? But Carnage always, especially when I went back and read Carnage's early first appearances, he always felt very like silly and kind of jokey and like overly dialogue-y. He talked too much. Like I want a scary serial killer. And I always felt like the early Carnage stuff that I read from the 90s was too he was too Freddy Krueger for me. Like I can't take Freddy Krueger seriously because of how funny he is, I guess, if that makes sense. He's scary, but he's also like way too silly, and it kind of undercuts the horror. Whereas this Carnage run written by Ram V is honestly the only reason I tried this comic, because I really like him as a writer, and I'm trying to read more of the things he has written, especially after writing Many Deaths of Layla Starr last year, which turned out to be like one of my favorite books of the year. This Carnage book was actually really, really cool. Like it has no right to be really good. I almost I don't want to get into it too much. I don't want to spoil it. There are, just like the issue Carnage Forever #1 that predated this, there are 3 different stories in here. There's a main Carnage story. I don't even know why I took this out of the bag. There's a main Carnage story by Ram V. And then there's a little backup story in here by David Michelini. Is that how you say it? I think he's one of the creators of Carnage. It's also drawn by Ron Lim. That takes place back in the early days of Carnage. It's an early era Carnage story that's the backup in this comic. And then there's a 1-page set of comic strips, basically the exact same format that Carnage Forever had. But this book was really cool. It's about the Carnage symbiote as a standalone thing without a host. So like the symbiote is really not the right word, because that implies 2 organisms working in tandem. But apparently Carnage in here is fully self-sufficient, and there is a crazy serial killer who's trying to draw the symbiote into himself and join with him and become like the new Cletus Cassidy, I guess. It's a cool book, and I would say, especially if you are somebody who is a little symbiote weary, or wary, I guess is the right word. Either one works, actually. Weary or wary, I think this Carnage book is off to a very good start, and I'm very pleased with issue 1 of Carnage. Basilisk #8. I'm not current on this book. I need to read at least issue 7 before this. I'd skipped that one. I don't love this book. This is Cullen Bunn, which is kind of disappointing. I really like Cullen Bunn as a horror writer. This comic is just a little too aimless, I guess. I still don't have a real good sense of like where this is going or how long it's going to be. It feels at equal parts. It feels like a limited series, like a 5-issue miniseries that has just gone on for 8 issues now. It feels like a limited series, but it also feels like he's trying to make it an ongoing, and I just don't know where the story is going to go or how much potential it even has to linger for that long. I don't know. I wish this was like Basilisk 1 of 12 or something like that, where it told you how long you were going to be on board for. Because it doesn't say that, I assume it's an ongoing, and unless something changed drastically in the last 2 issues that I haven't read, I don't see where the story can go from there. It would have been a really cool, short, contained story, but as it stands now, I'm just not excited. Which is probably the reason I didn't read it last month, but now I have to because otherwise that's going to start piling up. Basilisk from Boom Studios, not my favorite, but this one I haven't read this one yet either. This is The Flash. I don't normally get The Flash, but this is part 3 of the War for Earth 3 crossover. It's like a mini crossover storyline happening right now in DC. Crossing over between Suicide Squad, which I'm also not reading, Flash, which I'm also not reading, and Teen Titans Academy, which I am also not reading. But I decided to try this little crossover event because it involves Earth 3 and the Crime Syndicate, like the evil alternate universe Justice League, which is a group of villains that I have a weird soft spot for. So I decided to try this crossover event. There is an issue 1 and an issue 2 of War for Earth 3, and then this Suicide Squad Flash Titans Academy chapters are all in the middle. So I have read War for Earth 3 number 1 and Suicide Squad 13, I think was chapter 2. I didn't love it, gonna be honest. I like the Crime Syndicate, at least based off of Jeff Johns' work from the New 52 Justice League run. He used those guys in the middle to end portion of his run, and I really liked them there. But the recent Crime Syndicate miniseries that just wrapped up wasn't my favorite. And so far, 2 chapters into this War for Earth 3 story, where like Amanda Waller is for some reason trying to take over Earth 3, I guess. She's like a maniacal dictator trying to take over alternate universes. She basically invades Earth 3 and is trying to take it over for some reason. Unfortunately, I think I needed to be reading Suicide Squad to kind of pick up on her motivations, because based on chapter 2 of this crossover, which is also issue 13 of Suicide Squad, I have no idea what's going on. And that issue is much more Suicide Squad 13 than it is War for Earth 3 chapter 2, if that makes sense. Like I'm a little confused and adrift, but I probably should have seen that coming. War for Earth 3. So hopefully this random standalone Flash issue that I'm jumping into will make sense, but I have never read a Flash issue that really made sense. So we'll see. Detective Comics 1057? What number are we on? It's coming out every week, so I cannot keep track anymore. This is the Lee Bermejo B variant. I've been getting these B covers by Lee Bermejo for the entire time I've been on Detective Comics. He kills it. They're just good. This is chapter 10 or 11 of the Arkham Tower event that has been going on every single week now for the past couple months. It's almost over. While I do really like this story, I am glad it is almost over. Batman has been absent for the majority of this plot line. It has dealt with all of the members of the Bat family trying to solve this mystery taking place in this new version of the Arkham Asylum, which is now a tower in the middle of the city. It's a cool book. It's a really cool plot line, and I'm glad it's coming out so fast, because that means it will be over a little bit quicker and we can get back to normal. But again, that doesn't mean I don't like this story that's been going on. It's just a lot, especially every single week. Did you get Absolute Swamp Thing Volume 3? Not yet. I have 1 and 2. All my favorite books, all the coolest books I have are like right behind me, which kind of sucks. Like I have all 3 of the Sin Cities under my armpit over here, Absolute Scarlet over here, which I also really love, but you can't ever see any of it because it's behind me. Ryan is deathly afraid of swamps. In real life, yes, but swamp things I am not afraid of. Maybe not. I also haven't started reading them yet. I'm waiting until I get all 3. I have not read the Alan Moore Swamp Thing run, but I know it's good because I've spent a couple $100 on these absolutes so far. So I'm very much looking forward to getting all 3 of them, and then somehow pausing the spinning rotation of the earth so I can actually have time to read them, which is going to be the next big obstacle. I am currently about to start Saga number 3 here. I finished the first 2 of these Saga hardcovers last week, and I have not started the third one yet. I have never read past the second hardcover, so I'm in new territory with Saga. I want to blast through this third hardcover real quick, and then I can finally start reading the current issues that are coming out. So that's kind of like my focus when it comes to reading comics that aren't these brand new ones. Because also I'm behind on that too. I have a little bitty stack from last week's books that I have not gotten to yet, and also I clearly have not read a significant portion of this week's. So I'm just kind of, I'm treading water. I'm starting to drown a little bit, but I'll get out of it. I'll get out of it. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'll be fine. Next book, Silver Coin 10. I love this comic. This one, I read this one very quickly when I brought my stack of books home. This one found its way to the top somehow, just because I love this series so much. And this issue, it kind of goes into, I don't know, the gimmick with this book is that it is all it is all drawn by Michael Walsh. Kind of hard to read, but that says by Michael Walsh. Every issue is drawn by him, and the writer of every issue rotates. It changes. But this is the second time now in the 10 issues of Silver Coin, Michael Walsh has written and drawn the final chapters of both story arcs of this comic. The first one he did, issue 5, dealt with the origins of this cursed coin and why. It's been a while since I've read it, but I believe it took place during like the Puritan colonial times and like the Salem witch trials, and it dealt with how this coin got a curse on it. And every other issue kind of hops around in the timeline from like the 80s and the 70s and the present day to show horrible things that happen to whoever happens to hold the silver coin at any given time. It basically kills the person who is carrying it in some horrible way, and then it passes along to whoever picks it up next. And it's a really cool premise for a comic. And this is the next best look we have had at the origin of the coin and the nature of the curse behind it. And because it's an anthology book, there's not a lot of connective tissue between each issue, which is part of the reason it found its way to the top of my stack this month and every month, really, because it's easy to read. I don't have to read the last issue before reading the current issue like I do everything else. But there was one cool shot in here where the main character is like hallucinating, and she sees various, it's hard to tell, they're all shadowy in the back there, but there are various other people that we have read their stories in older issues of this book. You have the guitar player in the very first issue who found the silver coin and used it as a pick at a concert and like burned the entire arena down, or concert hall or bar, wherever the hell he was. You've got the original like colonial Salem witch trial dude here in the big pilgrim hat. I can't even tell who the hell else I'm looking at in the background. It's just a cool book. I love this comic. I believe just like the first, this was only supposed to be a 5-issue series, and then it sold well enough to get picked up as an ongoing. But after issue 5, it went on a break because they didn't have plans for future issues. But now that it's an ongoing, I believe it's going on another little hiatus before it comes back for issue 11. But Michael Walsh has already teased the next 5 writers that he'll be working with for the upcoming chapters. And 2 of my favorite writers are doing issues of Silver Coin next time. James Tynan is doing one, and Bornsack, the good Asian writer, is also doing an issue of Silver Coin, among other people whose names I can't remember. I'm just excited. I love that comic. I love that comic a lot, and even the issues that aren't my favorite are still really cool. But I'm also just a sucker for a good horror comic. Chaos and Comics almost bought Silver Coin this week. Issue 8 is still my favorite, so if you can track that one down, do it or don't do it. I guess everybody's taste is relative, but number 8 is my favorite. It made my top 5 comics of January that I did in January. I guess it came out in February, technically. Whatever. Who cares? The next book, World's Finest. This is Batman Superman World's Finest. I got the Art Germ variant. He's not my favorite artist. And honestly, I kind of don't know why I got this cover, especially when Dan Mora is doing the main covers for this run. I went with Art Germ. He's not my favorite. I don't really get the hype, I guess. Although this isn't his best work, so I guess I can't judge too harshly based on this one cover, but it's cool. The interior, however, is awesome. You got Dan Mora doing the pencils and Tamara Bonvillain doing the colors. And there's a lot of really cool imagery in here. And it's an old book, as you can tell by the retro bat costume here. I believe this takes place in the 90s or the 80s or something, but it's exactly what you'd expect. It's a Batman Superman team up. It's got a very old school flavor where they're just bashing villains. Like there's a couple of hints that are dropped for a future ongoing conflicts, and it's that tease that I'm most excited for, to see where the story can go from here, because the bulk of this issue is Batman and Superman punching Metallo, which is a cool crisis. And Robin is used in here. It's pretty cool. It's not just Batman, Superman. There's Robin also in the mix. Jimmy Olsen gets a little bit to do, so it's Batman, Superman, but with their little sidekicks. It's a cool book. Mark Waid wrote it. Dan Mora drew it. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes, but I hope that it goes somewhere with a little more substance, because this first issue is mostly just a fight, which is cool because Dan Mora is a fantastic artist, and I love to look at his art. I'm going to do one of my trades. I got 2 trades this week. I'll start with this one. This is out from AWA. This is a book that I loved that they did recently. I just stopped talking about it because I talked about it every month when it came out in these videos. But this book out is about Nazis in World War II who are losing the war. So they decide to, like anybody does, they decide to find a vampire and dig it up and try and train it to hopefully help them win the war. And they decide to test it out on a group of prisoners of war that they have captured in this big old castle. So it's a really dark horror story that is part Great Escape. It's also part there's obviously war stuff in here, so it feels a little like Saving Private Ryan-y, just like a generic World War II movie. Not to call it generic, that's a little insulting, but it's a mix of war, prison, and just outright vampire horror, which is a really cool combination. It means that I really loved the comic if I'm willing to buy a physical copy of the trade or hardcover and keep it on my shelf behind me. This also just won't take up that much space. It's a little 5-issue series from AWA. One of the cool things about AWA is their trade collections. This was $10 cover price, $9.99. So it's what if each issue was $4? So this would be like half the price of buying the single issues. It's just, I don't know. It's really cool. And I think AWA deserves a lot more attention. They actually just had their second series get optioned recently. Old Haunts, I believe. Don't quote me on this. I haven't read the article yet. I think that's the book. I have not read Old Haunts, but I think they're a publisher to keep your eye on, and I wish more people were doing that. I do the orders for our comic shop for Mill Geek Comics, and I was one of maybe 2 or 3 people who were reading out as it came out, and it's just a really, really solid horror comic that's told in 5 issues and it's done. And I have been beating the drum for AWA for a long time wherever I can, and I will continue to do so because they've tapped into something really good, and I appreciate them. Next book, Bylines in Blood, number 3. I have not read this yet. This is a weird little kind of near future noir detective comic where this Ooh, okay. The first page in here is sideways, I guess. That's interesting. Lady Dick. Okay. Dick in this instance obviously refers to the private investigator, not any other thing. Lady Dick. It's Lady Dick, not Lady Dick. Anyway, the art in here I really like. I like the colors. It's a very colorful book for being a kind of, I don't want to say dystopia because that's a little exaggerated. It's not quite a dystopia yet. It's a like a Blade Runner-ish, but not so down that road. It's like if you take Blade Runner, but like not that far in the future. So like we're on that path, but it's not as bleak as it is there yet. But basically, this girl used to be a cop. Sorry, she used to be a journalist, and now she is a PI, like Jessica Jones is kind of the comparison I make in my head. She used to be a PI, and her old boss at her newspaper was just recently murdered. And so she is taking it upon herself to track down her old boss's killer. It's a cool book. And if it's like most other Aftershock books, this will be over in 5 issues, maybe 6. Some of them have gone for 4, but most of the Aftershock series that I have read recently have been over in 5. I enjoy that one. I don't love it enough to buy a collected edition of it. I don't love a lot of Aftershock books, I'm learning. However, Maniac of New York, I do have the trade paperback for that pre-ordered. That will be finding its way to my shelf here pretty soon, just because I love Maniac of New York. That's a good horror book. Speaking of good, Stillwater, I don't feel like it's fair to call Stillwater a horror book. I have not read this yet. I do have this trade behind me, so I like it. I like Stillwater enough to have it represented behind me and not just tucked away in a short box. This is a one-shot tie-in, I guess, to Stillwater. I don't know the genesis of this standalone issue. I think it's in between story arcs at the moment, so maybe they're taking a hiatus, like a lot of Image books do in between story arcs to give the artist time to catch up on the next batch of issues. So I really have no idea what's going on in here. I love Stillwater, so I do not want to open this and flip through it to show you art in here because I do not want to spoil myself. But Stillwater is safe to say one of my favorite ongoing books, period, right now. I have my fingers crossed that I will like that book enough to put it on my list of top comics for March. By the way, if you have not checked it out, I recently uploaded my top 5 comics for February last week. Yeah, about a week ago, more or less. All throughout the month, I go through, and if I really, really like something, I will make a note of it. And at the end of the month, I will take that list and whittle it down to my 5 favorites. And this last month, I had 10 books that I had made a note of. So that video has my 5 favorites, and then I threw in 5 honorable mentions because I figure if they made the list at all, they're worth mentioning, if not analyzing and actually ranking. So yeah, go check that out. Hopefully, some of these books will make their way to that list. For the record, we are this far. I still have this many to go, and one more trade. Hopefully, I didn't just flash you whatever the bottom book was. Just in case I did, I'm gonna grab that one next. That's Rain, number 3. Okay. I was speaking of top 5. This issue number 1 made my January favorite comics of January list. I think I put this at number 3 that month. It's a story about crystal nails falling from the sky in a rainfall of deadly nails that puncture and stab and kill anybody who is outside while the rain falls. It's a really cool idea, but the aftermath is turning out to be a little bit disappointing for me. I know obviously mileage may vary based on the reader, but the main character of this book loses her girlfriend in the first rainfall, and it gives the first issue a very heavy emotional gut punch. And then in issue 2, she decides she has to go on a quest to find her girlfriend's father and tell him that she died. And for me, for some reason, maybe I'm just a heartless bastard, but for me, that doesn't really seem like, I don't know, like she's gonna find him and then the end, I guess. I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't want to say I don't care, because the journey she's going on is it's interesting, but the fact that this is only 5 issues and issue 3 is already out, so there's 2 more. It's about to wrap up. If anything, this makes me want to read the novella that it's based on, written by Joe Hill. Um, I feel like that might give us a little more wiggle room in this storyline. The fact that we are already over halfway done now with 3 issues in, and I don't know where they can go from here. I don't know. It's not my favorite, but maybe when it's all done and I read all 5 all at once, I'll be able to get a better sense of that whole story. So that's Rain from Joe Hill. At least Joe Hill wrote the original novella. He is not involved in the adaptation. It is adapted by David M. Booher with art by Zoe Thorogood. The art in here is pretty cool. Zoe Thorogood, I do like. She wrote an issue of Ha Ha last summer. That was my first introduction to her, which was that creepy clown comic anthology series. I just really like the look she has. The design, I don't know if that's the right word. Honestly, the face, the main character in here has a really expressive face that I like. Although her name is Honeysuckle, which I think is really kind of silly, but I can't blame her for that, and that's Joe Hill's fault. She's going on this quest to find her dead girlfriend's father. Maybe in the original story, maybe her and her girlfriend's father had some sort of like stronger relationship that we didn't really get to in this first issue of this book. I don't know. It just feels like there's something missing, and then I'm not getting it. Thankfully, it's only 5 issues, so I will absolutely be picking up the final 2, and I would like to give it a full read before judging too harshly. Next book. Ooh, okay. Justice League. Unfortunately, it's Justice League. I'm not looking forward to reading it. But this is one of the Batman variants. I got 4 of them this week, and I think this is the second one that I've shown off. The third one I've shown off today. We have one more that's still in the pile. This one is for Justice League 74. I believe this is Ben Oliver. Yes. Okay. I'm learning artists. It's a cool one. I like it. I like it. I like the rendering. I like the way Batman is drawn back there. I love the overall color, the motion on the Batmobile at the bottom. It's a good Batman variant. I can't say anything good about the Justice League comic. There's a reason I have not read this one yet. This one, Justice League by Brian Michael Bendis, is quite possibly no, my least favorite book on my pull list right now is Future State Gotham. That book is hot garbage. Justice League by Brian Michael Bendis is near the bottom. It's not the bottom, but it's very close. This, I believe, is his final issue on the run. The next issue is going to be The Death of the Justice League, and then the title is going, I won't say it's going bye-bye, because it's not forever. It'll be back at some point. I don't know. It needs a break. I haven't loved this comic for a while. Scott Snyder started with Justice League number 1, and this is 74. So I've been reading since Scott Snyder's number 1. And it had its moments, but I didn't love it. And I haven't really ever loved it. I really loved Jeff Johns' New 52 Justice League run. But I missed out on the Rebirth Justice League stuff. Whoever was writing it after Jeff Johns, but before Scott Snyder. Anyway, I'm glad that Bendis is done. I think he does a lot better these days on his own creator-owned stuff. So, good riddance. Maybe it should have shifted perspectives rather than continuing with Honeysuckle. That's a cool idea. Like if we had seen different, because this rain that is showering. Sorry to go back to an older book, but like the concept is the really scary part of that story. Like the next time it rains, it suddenly rains horribly sharp, deadly objects from the sky, and that obviously has serious ramifications for everybody and everywhere that is underneath those deadly clouds. So it would be kind of cool to zoom out and get a more societal perspective of how like the government is handling that, or what happens when the clouds move, because they did kind of touch on that in one issue, that the weather pattern is changing and the storm system is moving, however meteorologists talk. But they don't really get into it. They hint at the fact that like this rain is like spreading like a plague or a disease, and not so much like a normal storm pattern where it leaves one place and goes to another. I don't know. I think that would be a really cool idea, though, Sal. I think they should have zoomed out of this. It's a very intimate, close perspective story that we're getting in Rain right now, and I wish it had done what you said. That's a very good idea. Barbarian, hey, saw you live. Just wanted to pop in and say hi. Hope you're well. Thank you. Good to see you. Thank you for all those Green Lantern comics that you hooked me up with before. I have not forgotten that. Normally, whenever I buy comics from somebody, I just kind of forget. But I could never forget it. I'll have to do it again. I need more. I need to fill out my whole run. So we'll see. You don't want a convertible in that world. No, you absolutely don't. I would be safe because I never go outside. But honestly, in an apocalypse scenario, not to get really dark, but like everybody's always asking like, what's your zombie apocalypse plan or whatever? And my plan in a zombie apocalypse is to get bit like real fast, or just kill myself and not worry about getting bit at all, because I don't want to deal with any of that. I would be a terrible apocalypse buddy. Rain isn't quite an apocalypse. It's deadly, but it's not like a plague of zombie proportions that wipes out the whole world. It's a little bit more of a contained disaster. So I don't know. I would probably survive at least the initial Rain, because I don't leave the house much. But I don't know. Surviving in that world would be really scary. Okay. Let's do this one. This is my second trade that I got. This is Radiant Black Volume 2. I love Radiant Black. I believe Radiant Black made my top 10 list for January. Not for January, sorry, for 2021, the whole year. I really love this comic. I have Volume 1 already. It's a great book. Great comic. I love this first story arc. The second story arc, they are starting to bring in other characters into the superhero universe, and it's getting a little Power Rangers-y. I don't want to say I don't mind, because I do mind. It's losing a little. The first story arc of Radiant Black was really cool because it was about this guy who was super down on his luck, who was broke as hell, who happens to find a magical like space orb that gives him powers, and now he becomes a superhero. But it's a very grounded, small scale zoom, like Rain. It is a very intimate, close perspective on somebody who gets superpowers. One of the reasons I didn't like Invincible was because very soon after Mark gets his powers in that story, he goes into space and meets like Guardians of the Universe or whatever the hell they're called. He meets the world just blows up and it's super big, and there's all this stuff in it, and it loses the parts I liked in Invincible were the beginning, when it was still him struggling to learn what he was doing and dealing with the family aspects, and the very small scale of Invincible I liked. The second it got bigger than that, I was out. Radiant Black is it's actually really, really, the blurb on the front is from Robert Kirkman and says the perfect superhero comic for anyone missing Invincible, which I would also agree with. However, I think Radiant Black is doing a better job of keeping the scale small and close. Although lately, I don't know. It's not looking good, at least for me. There's only so long you can keep a story like that small and contained. And you can see here, again, there are several other heroes joining this universe. Thankfully, they are all pretty cool. If you haven't read Radiant Red, it's like a 5-issue spin-off series that just started dealing with this one, the red one. They call him Radiant Black, but he's blue. It's a weird, whatever. I'm not a color person, color scientist. Anyway, it's a cool book. So I'm glad I got volume 2. They will both look nice together on my shelf, if you can even see them. It's kind of hard to see small trades on a bookshelf. That's another reason I like omnis and absolutes. Next book. Oh, okay. Now Justice League books in here are back to back, I guess. This is the normal. I am subscribed to the B covers for Justice League. This is Alex Maleev. Okay. I love him as an artist. I did not recognize that was him, although I should have. Honestly, I think I saw the Justice League at the top and quickly flipped past this and got into a different section of my pull list. Comic Tropes just did a good interview with Kyle Higgins. I love Comic Tropes. He is local, actually. He lives like an hour away, I guess. He's not that local. I actually also met Kyle Higgins, too. I got him to sign issue 1 and issue 3 of Radiant Black. I met him at a con over the summer, last summer, back when I think it was when the vaccine first rolled out, and it started kind of like when we're in right now, actually, where everything's kind of easing off, and it's like, okay, we're over this pandemic, everything's fine, and then things went south again, and the Omicron started happening and all that stuff. It was back in that little brief window when things looked like they were going to be okay, and there were cons again for a little tiny bit. I got to meet Kyle Higgins, and that was a fun experience. He's a cool guy, so I'm going to have to actually check out that video with Comic Tropes, because they're two cool dudes. Refrigerator Full of Heads. I think this is the final issue. This has been a really big surprise. I really liked Basket Full of Heads, the first series, also written by Joe Hill. I liked it. It wasn't my favorite horror thing I've ever read, but it was still really good. However, after 2 years, I want to say, they came out of nowhere with a sequel that I didn't even realize they were going to do, or I'd certainly never asked for it, and I only got it because I'm a completionist and I liked the first series well enough. It's got a different creative team on here. Rio Yowers is the writer here, with art by Tom Fowler. Two people I'm not familiar with, so this was kind of a risk or a gamble, but I am enjoying Refrigerator Full of Heads quite a bit more, actually, than Basket Full of Heads. It's good. If you liked the first series here by Joe Hill's Hill House comics last time, then you should check out the sequel because it's pretty good. It actually works kind of like a slasher movie horror sequel where they pass the reins off to a different director and a different cast, and it still works. It still takes place in the same universe with some of the same characters, and it's just good. It worked. I'm glad that checked out. I was worried that it would suck, and it didn't. Refrigerator Full of Heads gets a recommend from me. How about this one? Wonder Woman 785. Yes. Have not read it yet. I'm still a little bit behind. I am catching up on Wonder Woman, but I am probably 3 or 4 issues behind. I don't know when I will be able to sit down and actually get to current on this, because again, anytime I can gain to read older comics, I am spending on Saga. There it is. Number 3, the third hardcover here, the pink one. I need to read that so I can get caught up for the current Saga stuff that is happening now. So Wonder Woman takes a back seat. Ooh, here we go. This is the 4th, the Batman variant that I got this week. And shoot, this one might be my favorite. I said the Riccardo Federici, I think it was Nightwing variant, was my favorite, but I am a sucker for Jenny Frison. And this Catwoman cover she did is gorgeous. It's got the Zoe Kravitz Catwoman on here. I like it. I also really love this book. Catwoman has been surprisingly good. This is my first time reading a Catwoman book. I jumped on when the new creative team took over with issue 39. So this is the 3rd issue in this new Catwoman story arc. And the art in here, I love. I got to look up the artist because I can never remember. Last name is Leon. Not that Leon, unfortunately. R.I.P. This is... Where are you? Nico Leon. And Teeny Howard is the writer. Veronica Gandini does the colors in here, and I think that's a big part of the reason I love the art in this book. It's got a very neon color scheme in here that I really like. find a good page because, yeah, that one's cool. I like this one. This night scene, like the background behind her here as she's making this like leaping attack. I like the clouds and the night sky is really cool. This is fun. I like the negative space here. But Catwoman's like motorcycle has this like, yeah, it's got this like pink neon glow to it that is like super synth. It's very, very 80s, the color scheme. And I quite enjoy it. The story in here is also really cool. I did not think I would love a Catwoman book as much as I am. And it's more reasons why I need to take chances on new stuff. I love it. This is a really good book. This is a 4-issue story arc, at least this first one. Teenie Howard took over like with issue 39, and she's telling a 4-issue story. So next month will be the conclusion of the first story arc of Catwoman. But again, that's a strong recommend. Especially if you are somebody like me who, unfortunately, I will admit it, I looked at Catwoman and said, that's a girl comic. I'm not going to read this. It's about a girl. I'm not a girl, I'm a man. So I'm not going to read Catwoman. Stupid mistake. And also in my quest to read more Rom V stuff, Rom V wrote a run of Catwoman recently. I believe he did Catwoman right before this. If not right before, then... No, I think it was right before. So I want to go back and read it, especially if this is in the 40s. This is 41. So what was number 1? That wasn't the Rebirth era. Whatever. It must have relaunched at some point in the last couple of years. So I need to do more Catwoman is basically the lesson here. There's also going to be another Catwoman. Nope, not this one. This is Reckoning War, Trial of the Watcher. This is the Peach Momoko variant. It's a pretty good one. I have been vocally hit or miss with Peach Momoko. I am not in love with her like a lot of people seem to be. This one's fine. It's fine. It's more interesting than the main cover, so that's why I went with this. Supposedly, this ties into Fantastic Four, I guess. So I'll get to that eventually. Just not yet. Nightwing 90. Okay, so now we're getting into, these are the duplicates. This is the B cover, Jamal Campbell. The Jamal Campbell variant for Nightwing. I have been getting the variants for Nightwing ever since issue 78. Is that when this new run started with Tom Taylor? I've been getting the B covers the whole time, so this is normal. I just added on the Batman variant, which is why there are some duplicates in here, like the Catwoman. There we go. Hey, this is the Catwoman that I just went over, but this is cover A, done by Jeff Dekel. I can never pronounce his name right, and I would appreciate figuring out how to do that. Dekel sounds weird, but so does Decal or Decal. I don't know how to say it. I know how to spell it, but I can't pronounce it. I really like his cover work. So it was, honestly, it was one of the hardest decisions I've had to make in comic books recently was when I knew I was going to subscribe to Catwoman. The A covers were done by Jeff Dekel, and the B covers are done by Jenny Frison, who I also really love. And it was a tough choice between the two of those, but I ultimately sided with Jeff because Jenny Frison has been doing Catwoman covers for a long time already, and especially working at the shop, I have seen them, and they're great, and I've looked at a bunch of them, but I've seen a lot of them, and I love Jeff Dekel. I should just call him Jeff. I'm just going to call him Jeff. I love Jeff's art, and I have not seen as much of it, so I would like to own more of it, if possible. That's my logic. That's my thought process. Here is another one, another duplicate for Batman the Knight. This is, let me take this out because his art deserves a no glare examination. This is another cover by Riccardo Federici, who I really love. This is the B cover for this book. Unlike the C cover that I showed off, I think the very first book I showed off in this live stream was the Batman variant for Batman the Knight, number 3, done by Raphael Albuquerque. This is just the B cover for the same book. I have not read this yet, but I am enjoying this little mini-series done by Chip Zdarsky going into Batman's, it's not his origin story per se, it's kind of like his training period. So it's after his parents die, but before he comes back to Gotham and puts on the bat suit for the first time and becomes Batman. This is him. I assume it will be him learning all the fighting styles he learns, learning how to sneak around. I think they were starting to get into that in issue 2 last month. He had met a burglar lady in France, and she was kind of showing him the ropes of how to sneak around and be stealthy, which he sucks at least at this early stage of his life. So it's kind of a cool period, and the way I described it early on in issue 1 and 2 was that it's a part of Batman's origin story that is always just cruised right past in every Batman book. At least most of them, all the ones I've read, they always show his parents getting shot, and then they always say he leaves Gotham City to train, and he disappears for a couple of years or however long it takes, and then he comes back, and that's where the story picks up, and that's the stuff that most Batman comics want to get into. But Chip Zdarsky very wisely narrows in on that kind of skipped over period of his origin and gets into the training elements of Batman. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see where we go with that, and I'm probably going to read that first when I get off this live stream. Next up, this is Regarding the Matter of Oswald's Body, number 5. This is the final issue. This book was a little bit of a disappointment. I got this because I love conspiracy theory stuff. Department of Truth is my second favorite comic book being published right now. Don't hold me to that. But yeah, if it's not number 2, it's number 3. I love Department of Truth. I love the horror, politics, conspiracy stuff they are getting up to in that comic. Regarding the Matter of Oswald's Body from Boom Studios is like a PG-13 version of the same kind of story. It deals with the conspiracy around Lee Harvey Oswald and whether or not it was actually Lee Harvey Oswald that was killed by Jack Ruby in the parking garage and buried in the cemetery. And we find out in this story that this group of people is assembled by a shadowy government dude to swap out Lee's body with a doppelganger, somebody who looks just like him. It starts out pretty dark and conspiracy-ish, but the story seems much more interested in spending time with that group of, I believe it was 5 conspirators that help swap the body. It always played to me more like a heist comic than a political conspiracy thriller, which is what I wanted. It's not a bad book. I do like the writer. Christopher Cantwell is the writer of that book. He's done a lot of really cool comics that I like. And I didn't not like Oswald's Body. It's impossible to not compare it to Department of Truth. And that book to me is just much more of a good time. That's much more exciting and dark and exactly what I wanted. Not so much with Oswald. All right, looks like I have 3 books left. Ooh, okay. So far, this is my favorite book of the week. I haven't read about half of the books I've gone through, but this is Crimson Cage from AWA. Again, because I do the orders at Mill Geek Comics, and because I see how many people order each book, there are not enough people, at least at our shop. If our one shop is any indication of what the general trend is like, I think there's maybe 2 people at our shop that are reading that, including me. Maybe 3. It's a really cool combination of Macbeth and 80s pro wrestling, which I almost actually skipped this book because I don't like wrestling, but I love AWA so much that I am literally just ordering everything they put out. Again, they show on the back of every comic everything that comes out every month, which I love, and I am subscribed to all of these series. And Crimson Cage is my favorite thing they're putting out right now. It's Shakespeare, but wrestling. It's bonkers. Josh says, I'm sure I ordered that. That's one I was missing. I went in and did a bunch of reorders today, but I didn't look too closely at them. So double check your orders. I probably placed one for you today, because I know I did. Red Room, I saw for sure. I went ahead and ordered that for you, and I think there were a couple others. that you place too. But this comic just tells the story of Macbeth, but instead of a guy plotting and scheming for the crown of Scotland back in medieval times, this is a guy plotting and screaming for the heavyweight championship belt of the wrestling league that he's in. It sounds ridiculous, but it works. It should not work, but it works. It's scary. It's gritty. It's Macbeth. It's the book we read in high school. I read it in 10th grade in English class. It scared me then, and this book is scary now. And it's, as somebody who has read, I want to say like 85 to 90% of everything that AWA has done in their 2 years since they started. They're a very new publisher, but I've read most of the books they have put out, and Crimson Cage has shot to the top. It's in my top 3 or 5. I don't want to iron it in too hard, but Crimson Cage is right up there with my favorites. Really good book. This was issue 4 out of 5. So next month it'll be over. I will probably be getting the trade paperback of that as well. Next up, Time Before Time. This is number 11. This is the end of the second story arc of Time Before Time. And the artist is leaving. That is the big takeaway that I have from this book, from this issue, which is a bummer because I really love the wacky art style in this book. I don't want to sound like I'm insulting. Joe Palmer is the artist here. I don't want to sound like I'm insulting him, but it's like almost bad, if that makes sense. It's not bad art, but it's like intentionally flat and cartoony, which is normally not a kind of art that works for me, but it works in this book, and it gives it a very, it gives it a real sense of like heart, and it kind of grounds the weird time travel concepts that are in here. It's a time travel crime action thriller with some awesome lettering. One of my favorite parts of this book is the crazy sound effects that happen every so often. I believe they are drawn by Joe Palmer into the art. I don't know if that's the letterer that does that or if that's actually part of the physical art. It looks like it doesn't happen every time. So like I would assume like this stuff or this stuff or this stuff up here is all from the letterer, but this might be penciled by Joe Palmer. I'm not sure. Either way, I hope they don't lose that, even though we are losing Joe Palmer as the artist on Time Before Time. I hope they stick with those goofy block sound effects. It's a weird thing to point out and to specifically praise, but it's a fun book. This is one of my low-key favorite books right now, too. And I'm sad to see one of the original creators of this book depart. But according to the letter in the back, he is leaving to start his own creator-owned solo project, I believe. I don't know if it's a solo. I don't know if it's solo. That might not be the right word. He might not be writing it and drawing it, but I'm going to follow him and pick up whatever book he does next, because I have his art has grown on me, especially over the course of those 11 issues of Time Before Time. And sad to see him go. Hopefully the book continues to look pretty no matter who's drawing it. But okay, I got one book left. What's the furthest place from here? All right, this is another one that has. I almost didn't grab this book because it was marketed as very music heavy. There's a variant for each issue that comes packaged with a record with music on it. And it's about a group of kids in an post-apocalyptic world, about a group of kids who live inside of a record store. And that was enough to make me kind of cautious about picking it up. This was my first story by this creative team, Matthew Rosenberg and Tyler Boss, who also did Four Kids Walk Into a Bank, which from everything I've heard from people has been one of the best books of recent years. And I need to get around to reading that. But I've liked a lot of stuff that Matthew Rosenberg has written elsewhere that I've read of his. So I felt like I could take a chance on this book, even though it was very heavily music based, which is usually not my thing. But it's really not. This group of friends that live in this record store, in the first issue, there's one of their friends is pregnant and she disappears in the middle of the night in issue 1. And so this story is about them leaving as a group to try and track her down. And it's got this that it doesn't ever go back to the record store. There's really not a lot of music influence in this book like it was marketed as. So if that's a reason that you steered away from What's the Furthest Place from Here, I can pretty safely say that's not a deal breaker like I was worried it was going to be. It's got this really strong like punk rock teenage rebelliousness kind of energy to it that is fun. I wouldn't like if every one of my comics every week was like this, but I can handle one of them. It's the art in here is really cool. I believe it's by Tyler Boss, and the colors also really pop, especially in this issue and the last issue have both taken place at a carnival. So there's a lot of colorful moments, especially in these last couple issues. But yeah, there's all these various like gangs, I guess, that rule. So I've been referring to it as I've referred to it as having more of like a Warriors kind of vibe with all of these. It's like Mad Max meets the Warriors. So you've got like a apocalyptic wasteland populated by different gangs who are all kind of beefing with each other and having all these turf disputes. You can see the carnival kids, the kids who run the carnival, have captured one of our main protagonists and are holding him in a dunk tank underwater, and he is drowning until they can hit the target with the ball to like set him free. So it's an interesting book as they're trying to like track down their missing friend. They get up to all kinds of shenanigans and adventures along the way. So I'm liking it way more than I thought I would. And one of my favorite things about comics is finding out that each issue kind of grows, and like I'm liking this book more and more the further we go, which is a pleasant experience because far too often I have had the opposite happen where I slowly fall out of love with a comic. So it's good to have the flip side of that happen every now and then. That was everything though. That was my entire stack. That was 2 trades. That was a gigantic omnibus that I started with. This Green Lantern, Jeff Johns, Volume 2 omnibus, which I'm going to have to stretch the spine out of that and put that on the shelf. And this whole pile of comics. That's my day. I know I need to read, but I really want to get that spine stretched on that book so I can put the book on. Actually, it's going to go over here, replacing all these other Green Lanterns that I pulled off earlier. I'm excited to put it up on the shelf and have it be part of my backdrop. It's the little things in life, I guess. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out. This one, thankfully, didn't go as long as I was worried it was going to go. It's still over an hour. So any of you who are psycho enough to stick around that long, you are appreciated. I hope you have a good rest of the week, even though it's Thursday, so the week is pretty much over. That's it. I should be on time next week for Wednesday instead of Thursday, so I'll see you in 6 days. Catch you next time.